Brothers, how did you become a gang? Do you know what they're doing? They are manipulating a natural process of human development. I'm going to say it very quickly. The Quran teaches us that we are social beings. So there comes a time in your development when you leave the home at 8, 9, 10 and go out in the street. You meet your friends in the neighborhood. When you meet your friends, you form a natural alliance with your friends. Is that right? There's a time in our lives that we identify with, get our feeling of worth from, seek recognition by a group of boys and girls who have similar interests, aspirations, or needs, and usually they come from the same neighborhood in which we're growing up. Our reason for being together is defined by streets or neighborhood, and therefore we feel we have a need to protect or defend what we call our turf. As a result, the need to identify and belong to and be recognized by a group of peers to feel safe and secure, which is a natural need. Out of this need, groups are formed and natural leaders emerge to whom the members of the neighborhood or the group or the gang give their allegiance. Each one of you that have a neighborhood group that is called a gang, you have given your allegiance to one of your own. You call him your leader. What qualities does the leader have? He usually possesses extraordinary gifts: courage, bravery, the strength to dominate, the will to win, and the will to survive. Oftentimes, the leader is the greatest fighter among you. In fact, the leader whips you. So when he beats you physically, you submit to him. You become his boys, his group. Now check this out. In white neighborhoods, they take this courage and bravery and will to win, this aggressive tendency in young people. It's not false. It's a natural tendency in young men to be aggressive, to want to show strength. That's our rite of passage into maturity. We're growing up now. I'm as strong as you, so I'll test my muscle against your muscle. I'll test my strength against your strength. I'll put my hands up and shoot out a few jabs to see if you know how to defend yourself. Is that right? So this is growing up. We ain't got no YMCA. We don't have nobody to direct that energy among us. But among white people, they see the same energy. So they take their groups and they form a little league. They form a baseball team. They form a football team. They form a basketball team. They form a boxing team. And all of your hostility and aggression, you work it out in team sport. The will to win makes you a winner in baseball, a winner in basketball. The courage is seen in how you work with your team, your bravery, your desire to be a winner. In white communities and in the more affluent sections of the black community, they do this to guide that natural macho spirit in young men. But suppose you ain't got no money. There's no police athletic league that cares about you. There's no little league team for you. Then what happens to this aggressive tendency in the young man? It degenerates. And consequently, our leadership gained through courage, bravery, and strength is now demonstrated not in games, but in conflict. You came on my turf, man. So when I bust you in your mouth for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, this is the way I prove to my boys that I'm worthy to be the leader. This is the way I prove to myself that I still got it. This is the way I keep my boys in line. So the only way when you get leadership by that means, the only way that that leadership is maintained is by constantly proving yourself, by constant involvement in conflict. So therefore, our recognition can only be sustained and maintained by exploits that cause us to be recognized. How many members of a rival gang have we beat, have we maimed, have we killed? And the more we beat, maim, and kill one another, the more we have to beat, maim, and kill, so it becomes an ever spiraling cycle. Do you understand? Now there's white folks on top that know that this is a natural evolution in human beings. It's not just germane to poor people. This is natural to all human beings, particularly males. But they sit up and in boardrooms and say, how can we manipulate this? Now look at our communities right today. What is the result of this gang conflict? It is the destruction of our own people because they don't live in the same neighborhood, go to the same school, or wear the same colors. They don't wear the same symbols. They don't wear their hat in the same way. If I put my hat to the side, that means I'm this. If I turn it around to the back, I mean it's that. If I turn it to the left, that means something else. Look at this, brother. And we start killing each other over something silly about the marks that we have now in our hair, that everybody in this gang has 3 marks on the side, and then those in another gang have 4 marks in the back. Then we knock each other down and destroy each other because our hair is cut different. You don't see the big picture. You don't realize that we all come up out of the same earth, and that we are fellow sufferers of injustice in a society that has put us in that sick road. We are the same people with the same experience, originated from the same source. We come from the Lord of the worlds, Almighty God, Allah, yet we see each other as strangers. Have you ever thought that perhaps somebody wants this to happen? Because you can't see the bigger picture, that we are one people, not tribes. And because you live on the west side, another one lives on the south side, another one lives on the east side, or in Boston, some live on Intervale, some on Castlegate, some in Corbett Street, some on Humboldt Avenue. Now, because you live in a different area with a different turf, you don't see yourself as the same people. You got to protect what you really, in fact, do not own. Then, to complicate the situation, drugs is brought in. When they bring the drugs in, it's no longer where you live. It's don't you sell no drugs in the turf that we have carved out for our thing. And oftentimes police recruit our young people to sell drugs. You didn't hear me. I said oftentimes police recruit our own young men to sell drugs. And why do we sell drugs? Is it because we want to kill our people? Hell no. We sell drugs because that is the way that white folk have opened up for us to make the kind of money that will allow us to wear the good shoes, the designer jeans, the designer sneakers, the gold chains, the gold watches, the diamond rings. You can't wear that working for minimum wage all day long for the white man. Now Mr. Bush cut back the minimum wage from $4.55 as proposed by the Democrats down to $4.25, I think, what is proposed by the Republicans. You can't live off of $4.25 an hour. Who the hell wants to work all day for nothing? So when somebody comes along and says, look here, man, sell this white powder, get this rock of crack to your brother, you can make some money. It's the money that attracts you. You're not thinking about death to your people. You don't have a social consciousness. You're thinking about them big bucks. And if you can make $400, $500, $600, $800, $1,000 a week by selling drugs, then who can interest you in a 9-to-5 job working for $4.25 an hour? White folks know we like nice cars. White folks know we like nice clothes. We can't get those things without a job and without an education and without being able to be an entrepreneur. So the brother said, look, I ain't got no skill. I can't run no computer. You understand? Hey, man, I quit school in the 8th grade, Jack. There wasn't nothing happening. But I want to be a businessman. I want to be an entrepreneur. I opened up my own dope business on this corner, on this turf. So you're not protecting your neighborhood, you're protecting your area where you sell your drugs. And the enemy knows this. He's feeding you the drugs. Now he's feeding you what? The Uzis. The AK-47s. Huh? He's feeding you automatic weapons now. You don't make no weapons, brother. Where did you get the weapon? You never been to a firing range. You can't go to no firing range with a Uzi. You can't go to a firing range with a street sweeper, which is a automatic shotgun pellet weapon that allows you to fire off 12 rounds of 12 gauge shotgun pellets in 3 seconds. You ain't going nowhere to learn how to shoot that. They put that in your hand knowing you want to practice. So you just look for an excuse to use your Uzi, to use your AK-47 and your street sweeper and your magnums. But you kill more innocent people, destroy more property because you don't know how to shoot. And look at this. This is all calculated. It's part of the conspiracy. Now you say, man, my neighborhood is getting real rough. Your poor mother, she's at home wondering, will you make it from the school to the house? So mama is saying, Lord, I got to move. I got to get my baby out of this. Where you moving to, mother? See, the enemy wants where you live. The Robert Taylor homes, Stateway Gardens, see, Henry Horner projects. White folk want this turf, brother. When they plan downtown, they recognize you too close to the downtown area, the business section of the country. So what they do, the white boys have moved out in the suburbs, and it's taken them all kind of gas money and time to get to downtown Chicago or downtown Boston or downtown New York or LA or Detroit. So the white boys saying, let's move the niggers out. How do you move the niggers out? You create gangs. You feed weapons to the gangs. You make them kill each other. Just confine the killing to their black neighborhood. Don't let it spill over into the white neighborhood. Then as they kill each other, it will produce black flight. Then they've prepared reasonable apartments for you in the suburbs. So you move out, and the white man let the property go down. The banks are in cahoots with them. Then they send some of you to burn the property. Then as you begin to move out, whites let the property keep going down. Then the white developers come in. Imagine the Robert Taylor homes as a condominium. They don't want you there no more. They want you out. Oh, brothers and sisters. White flight from the cities to the suburbs have left blacks, Hispanics, and poor people in control of the inner cities. But in developing the inner cities, the areas where most black people live is the area most convenient to downtown and the seat of power. So the real estate developers want to put condominiums in places where houses exist now and sell them to whites who are far removed from the centers of power. They did this in Washington, D.C., and caused us to kill each other. And when we left, the white boys came in and took over where we once lived and made it beautiful. And now we can't get back in there. They did it right here in the Woodlawn area. They allowed the Blackstone Rangers to come up. They gave us guns. We started killing each other. Our parents left. Now the white people have come and taken back over that area, and you are gone now, and you can't get back. They're going to do this in Stateway Gardens. They're going to do this in the Robert Taylor projects. They're going to keep death and destruction going in the black community until you run and get the hell out of the city, and then you'll never, ever have a black mayor again as long as time prevails. Now, if you look at the white as a race, you see a greater population of elderly and a smaller population of youth, because God himself has cursed, as Deuteronomy said, their basket and the store, the fruit of the ground and the fruit of their womb. But it looked like you every time you fire. Amen. There's another baby.
That's right.
So while the older ones are on birth control pills, the young babies now at 9 years old having a menses, yes, sir, breasts, looking fine. So somebody is hitting on them. We ain't got no job, so we in the community searching. So we find beautiful little young girls and hit on them, and next thing you know, they're pregnant. So you got a lot of teenage pregnancies now. So the birth rate cut on one side, growing on another, but the racist is looking at this. Do you know now that you have a larger youth population than an elderly population? That's why they have great power among white people, because the elderly now are a strong force politically. So they got AARP, I think that's what they call it. But you got more youth, work age, fighting age, no job, no war. What you gonna do with the black youth? We have to get them to kill each other. This is the bigger picture. Somebody's planning. And instead of our carrying out the will of God, we are absolutely agents of the enemy of God with what we do to each other. Now, I'm closing now, but what I want to share with you is the plan of the enemy appears to be successful. He's using chemical warfare, biological warfare, and outright warfare. Either we're dying of crack, or we're dying of AIDS, or we're dying from gunshot wounds. When I was a young man, we gang-banged as children, but all we had was a little knife. We never had guns. Then in New York, they got a thing called the zip gun. Then the gang started going from a switchblade that was press button. You just press a button and the blade would come out, and you thought you were really hot, man. But most of the time when we fought each other, it was with our hands. That's right. So there were no deaths involved. There was injury, but never deaths. We didn't bury each other.
Come on, Minister.
Then he said, we got to up the ante here. So they make guns. And y'all don't shoot straight. Because you're not trained.
Come on.
Go ahead.
You just know it's a trigger, you squeeze it, and a bullet will come out. So a mother's sitting on the porch with her baby, and you driving by, killing an innocent child, grieving an innocent mother, and then going back to your friends saying, I smoked a nigga today. See? That's illness, brother. But the enemy is turning our power against ourselves.
That's right.
So, if you want the promised land, you have to find a way to peace.
Yes, sir.
If you want your children to have a future, while white folk are not producing children, but the black and the brown are producing them. So they want wars now. The government is actually aching for a fight.
That's right.
That's right.
Who you think they want to send? Rumsfeld not sending his child.
Right.
Dick Cheney not sending his. Bush got daughters and he ain't sending none of them. But since you don't have a job, you join the army. You're patriotic.
That's right.
But you be coming back in body bags. But it'll be all right. Because it's the black, the brown, and the poor white. And there's another objective always in mind that I have to expose. I don't mind taking the point in this.
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm born for. Not to fight the little people, but to take on the kings and the rulers.
Say that part.
Where the real corruption is.
Right, sir. Yes, sir.
Paul said, we war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, and the rulers of the darkness of this world and spiritual wickedness in high places. That's not you.
That's right.
You are the victim of the wickedness that's in high places.
Right.
And you have to decide now that I'm not going to be used anymore by man.
Come on. Come on.
But I want to be used as an instrument of God.
Right.
Right now, they send you to prison and they turning boys into girls. And you coming out of jail with your backside as big as the Holland Tunnel. And then you start moving on the down low. You with a woman by day and another man by night. And then you say, I ain't no faggot. And now all our women filled with the AIDS virus. How the hell did you get that? You can't see that the enemy is plotting our destruction, and we are playing into his hands by destroying one another. The government wants you killing each other. Because as long as you kill one another, that makes their job easier. And in every major city in America, and even minor cities, go to the funeral parlor and see who's laying there. It's our young brothers from 18 to 35, either killed by AIDS, gunshot wounds, drug overdose, or suicide. This is happening all over the country, brothers, and it's part of a plot to deprive you of your future. I don't intend to teach a long lecture, so I will close with 2 points. What is your future that the enemy knows but you don't know? Do you think you just born to be a nigger and walk No, I want you to hear me. Do you think you just born to be nothing? To walk the street, smoke dope, have sex, party, dance, rap, and die? Do you think that's what God intends for you? The children of slaves that have suffered the worst slavery of any people in the annals of history, what kind of God would want that for you? The Bible puts it like this. God is talking to Abraham, and he said, know of a surety, Abraham, your seed, your offspring, is going to be a stranger in a strange land, and they're going to be afflicted in that land for 400 years. But after that time, I will come. God talking. And I'm going to judge that nation which they shall serve, and afterward shall they come out with great substance and go to their fathers in peace and be buried, not as a young man, but be buried in a good old age. Then Moses comes along, and you see the children of Israel suffering in bondage for 400 years, and God whips Pharaoh and raises Moses up from among the children of Israel and takes them out and gives them a land. I didn't say give them a piece of sky. I said gave them land, but people were on the land. And they looked like giants. And God told the children of Israel, go on in and take the land. And their father said, well, wait a minute. There's some giants over there. We ain't tackling that. You know what I mean? You, God, you, Moses and Aaron, you go in there and clean the giants out, then we'll come in. So God said, is that the way you feel? Then I'm going to let you wander in the wilderness till you die out. And I'm going to take your children and they will inhabit the promised land. Then in the book of Deuteronomy, a prophecy. I'm going to raise them up, Moses. Them who? The seed of Abraham, that will be in a strange land among strange people. I'm going to raise them up a prophet like unto you, Moses. You don't need a man like Moses unless you got a wicked king like Pharaoh. You don't need a man like Moses unless you got a people in bondage like the children of Israel. What you gonna do when you raise that man up? I'm gonna put my words in his mouth, and he will speak unto them all that I shall command him. Now, you may think that's talking about some Jews somewhere, but it's talking about you. So they got us now. And poor Jesus, he wants the young because he sees in them the future. But Satan is busy. How many of you have seen the movie American Gangster? How many of you have the DVD already? Okay, how many of you have seen BET American Gangster? Raise your hands. Do you think this is an accident? This is no accident, brother. Do you know some of these satanic Jews have taken over BET? They took it away from Bob Johnson. They gave him an offer that he couldn't refuse. They got Essence. They got BET. They got our hair product people. They got Motown. Everything that we built, they got it. But the mind of Satan now is running the record industry, running the movie industry, running television. How many of you saw the Kings of Comedy? Talk to me. Raise them. Come on. I'll raise my hand. My children brought that to me. I don't know nothing about the Kings. They said, Daddy, you need to watch this. There was Bernie Mac. There was Steve Harvey. There was Cedric the Entertainer. There was Hughley. Kings of Comedy. Now, when I saw the four of them traveling the country as the kings of comedy, and they made a movie of it. If you listen to the kings of comedy, you hear raw filth, of course, but you also hear intelligence that raises the conscience of the young people who are laughing, grooving, and growing. Who wrote Cedric the Entertainer's comedy? Cedric did. Who wrote Steve Harvey's work? Steve did. Who wrote Hughley's stuff? Hughley did. Who wrote Bernie Mac's stuff? Bernie did. So the satanic Jews said, these are some conscious Negroes. If we let them go free, they'll wake up all the rest of these Negroes. So Fox, which is Murdoch, he's a Zionist, pro-Israeli, hater. Now, each of them were given a television series on Fox. Now, who's doing their writing? See, it's these same people that put us in a step and fetch it bag. See, and they begin to take our brothers down little by little by little by giving them an offer that they can't refuse, because when the enemy come out with the Benjamins, how many of you can resist the lure of Benjamins, that you will betray the future of your people for money and a movie contract and a movie role that these same satanic Jews offer you? Well, rap now is a gangster thing. So 50 Cent, my brother, is rich because he's helping Satan to keep you where you are. He don't know that. He's a good person at heart. He lived a rough life, was shot 9 times. See, but the offer that he got, I said, damn, I must be doing something right. I'm rich. You're doing something wrong for your people, but right for Satan. So he can make you rich, but he's already planning to take that away from you. Come on, Jay-Z. I'm going to bring you out of retirement. I want you to write a rap on American Gangster. Come on, Lucas. Young black people didn't know nothing about him. But you're going to take Denzel, one of our brightest stars, that you gave an Oscar to, not for the movie Malcolm X, not for the movie The Bone Collector, not for his very many wonderful roles, but you gave him an Oscar for playing a corrupted black policeman. You didn't give Halle Berry an Oscar
for playing the many good roles that she played, but you gave her an Oscar for her little nasty role with this white man. See, you'll always get an Oscar playing into the enemy's hands. Is that what you want out of life? A hit record where you call your women out of their names? Is that what you want? See, he got that. He prints money every day. It ain't worth much these days, but he'll print more, give it to you, and make you mislead your people. Do you really think they're going to let Barack Obama really make a change? Come on, talk to me. He's a good person. He means good. He don't know the crap that he's getting into. I know it. I've been shown it from God's perspective. So now I can close. See, we look like we're the murderers. We look like we're the gangsters. But we are punk stuff. Mr. Lucas, see, if you can come out of seeing that saying, damn, Lucas was bad, to inspire you to try to be like him. Let me show you what Lucas really was. See, with this and the law of this, if it's true, he brought in heroin in the 60s. I want you to listen. You young people weren't around then, but in the 60s, your grandparents were on picket lines. Your grandparents were marching against white supremacy, Jim Crow, and they were being beaten down with fire hose and dogs, and they were put in prison so you could go to a toilet. They paid a hell of a price to get something so damn cheap as a voting right that they find a way to take from you. The moment the riots began and black folk rose up, because all black people weren't following Dr. King. Though they would like to make you believe that everybody had that same kind of dream. That ain't real. And black people that didn't want nothing to do with going to school with white people. There are black people that didn't want nothing to do with integrating with them. There were black people that would never turn the other cheek and be nonviolent. There were the deacons of defense. There was the Black Panther Party. There were black men who were willing to take up arms against this enemy. And the moment that kind of spirit was in the people, a purer form of heroin was introduced in the black community. Therefore, Frank Lucas was a pawn of the power powers that wanted to drug those who weren't drugged by religion, drugged by the enemy's education, drugged them with a pure form of heroin. So in the movie, you see them shooting up and dying. So he was killing his people for this. So they say he had planes flying in with a pure form of heroin. And he even punked the mafia. You can believe that bull. Shit. What are they telling you? Do you think you can out-criminalize the real criminals? Is that why your behind is filling up all the jails in America and they're working your raggedy behind like a slave like they did your great-grandfathers? Is that why you think you can outdo the white man in criminal behavior? He is the number one criminal. He don't rob you. He robs countries. He don't just kill you. He kills whole populations. You are a cheap killer and a cheap thief compared to him. Well, what about gangsters? Now, you call yourself a gangster. I am a gangster disciple. Yeah, but you're not a good disciple of the real gangsters. Because the real gangsters have taken a world. And we hustling drugs on a corner and killing one another. But we are gangsters? That's punk stuff. Let me show you what gangster is. Watch this. Robert A. Rockaway, senior lecturer at Tel Aviv University in Israel, discusses the era when all types of illicit drugs were dumped almost exclusively in black ghettos. Listen to the quote. After the First World War, Jewish gangsters became major figures in the American underworld and played prominent roles in the creation and extension of organized crime in the United States. During Prohibition, 50% of the leading bootleggers were Jews. And Jewish criminals financed and directed much of the nation's narcotics traffic. Jews also dominated illicit activities in a number of America's largest cities, including Boston, Cleveland, Detroit, Minneapolis, New York, and Philadelphia. Now you're a gangster, but you're a sharecropper. You still on a plantation. See, the hood is a plantation now. Yeah. And you gangbangers are the plantation overlords. You done scared the hell out of everybody on the plantation. Because, you're running things with your guns and you're killing one another and scaring the hell out of others. And, you don't own no ships, so you ain't bringing no drugs in. You don't own any planes, you ain't bringing no drugs in. It just comes into your community. because you got a sharecrop. Kill your people and make a profit. Because they didn't close down business in the black community, so the only place that a poor person can make some money, well, you can get a job in Mickey D's, but my God, that ain't no money at all. Burger King. But then if you're selling drugs, see, you can have a wad of money in your pocket but don't know what to do with it. See, John Fitzgerald Kennedy's father knew what to do with money. He was a bootlegger. Don't nobody say, his father was a criminal, he was a bootlegger. Oh, they talk about John, Big John, Bobby, Teddy. But everything they got came from criminal activity. But heavy businessman. And he parlayed criminal activity and got a son that was 2 sons as a senator and 1 as a president. That's what you call doing business. But now what did you do with your bootlegging? Crack cocaine, reefer. You know what you did? You got 10, 15 years in prison, and now you just a slave on the white man's plantation in prison. You came from the ghetto plantation, now you in prison plantation. Plus, you fighting each other over territory. We the 4 corner hustlers. Okay, what are the 4 corners? That one over there, that one over here, that one over here. We control this. Hey man, you under man that controlling the whole world. And you just controlling a few corners? Well, we got to study this white man a little closer, don't you think? What a friend I have. In that Jesus you all talk about. You know I must know somebody. As much hell as I'm raising and I'm still here to talk about it, I must know somebody. And if I don't look worried and frightened, and I'm not hungry, because he spread a table before me in the presence of my enemies. And he anointed my head with so much oil till my cup is running over. I wish you could know him as I'm getting to know him. You would become so bold, so unafraid, because power today, God wants to give it to you on certain conditions. Let me just get this conspiracy out of the way and then we'll wrap it up. My dear brothers and sisters, listen. If you notice, from the beginning of the 80s, when crack started and you started hearing about the Bloods and the Crips, you already noticed Chicago had many gangs in Chicago. But crack was not here. It was not here. Daley and them did not want it here, because they know crack has devastated all the cities. It only adds to the problems of the cities. But listen, notice the Republicans. This Willie Horton, crime, law and order. Now all the candidates that run for political office, they got to talk about what? Law and order, crime. And when they talk about law and order and crime, Who do you think the public is thinking about? Thinking about us. Not our sisters so much, but about black men. So now I'm a law and order man. We must have law and order. We must have tough laws. Crime is on the increase. And all of us suffering from robberies, carjackings, all this stuff. So we say, yes, 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 we need tough laws. Put them in jail. And the white boy says, good. They're all in agreement. 3 strikes and you're in for life. You hear me? And there's hardly one of you in here that haven't been arrested for something. You can hardly find a black person 35 years old that hadn't been arrested at least once, maybe twice. So all you got to do is be charged for taking a candy bar. And look, in 1984, when the crack was going and the crime was going, they started privatizing prisons. So corporate America got involved in prison for profit. So you know what the greatest growth industry in America is? Prisons. Now look, brothers, any of you in business, if you're going to set up a McDonald's, what do? You got to check and see what kind of foot traffic or car traffic you have so that you know you don't put it in a desolate area, right? The feasibility studies that were done says that since there's more crack in the black community and they're fermenting or fomenting gang violence and there's more guns in the black community, then if we give unusually long sentences for crack cocaine, then we got 5 years, 10 years, maybe life, and we got us a slave. Because now we're going to tie prison to industry. So we will have a fat bottom line on the back of niggers. The mafia, if you go look at The Godfather, when it was prohibition and they were fighting over alcohol and whether they should legalize it, Kennedy's father was heavily involved in alcohol. See? But then when dope started getting to be a hot thing, they resisted it, but then Lucky Luciano, the U.S. government, let the boy out of prison to go to Italy to establish the connection between heroin and Southeast Asia, bringing it through Southeast Asia, Italy, into the United States of America for you. In those days, it was heroin earmarked for the black community. And that's why America was fighting a war in Southeast Asia. It didn't have nothing to do with democracy. It had something to do with control of the fields where they could grow the poppy and the opium and the heroin for you. You say, oh, this is impossible. Our government would never do something like this. Ask the Native American. Did they give the Native American smallpox in blankets. They've been dealing with biological and chemical warfare for years. You sick and don't know why you're sick. You got viruses and don't know where it comes from. Don't you understand? You are a target. And now, I want you to hear me. In the 60s, the heroin got the men, mostly. But now crack got you and your babies. This man is killing us all the way through the seed. Now, Farrakhan is accused of being a hate teacher. Anti-Semite. I'm none of that. I just love you. And I want to see us free of the conspiracy, of the conspirators. We can beat this. We have to beat this. What truth should you know to free you from the bondage and the grip of racism and white supremacy and a black inferiority that makes you feel you're nothing? For as a man thinketh, so is he. If they can make you think you're nothing, then you act out your nothingness. Do you understand? White folk deliberately painted all the prophets white. White folk deliberately made everything of value white and made us to believe that we did not contribute anything worthwhile to the advancement of civilization. By depriving you and me of our own history, they deprive you of a mirror in which you could see yourself. So if you don't know what you did in history, you don't know what you're capable of doing. So you have nothing to look to as a criterion to measure yourself by when you can't see yourself in the light of history. Listen now, listen. Brothers, when we were deprived of this kind of knowledge, we began to look at ourselves as some freak of nature, or that God had made some mistake for making us black. Now listen, if there are any rabbis or members of the Jewish community in the house, Brother Farrakhan is not anti-Semitic at all. Brother Farrakhan is not a hater of Jews or whites. It's not your complexion or your faith that messed up the world. It's the way you think. According to our research, it was the rabbinical scholars who developed, created the myth of the curse
of Ham. Wait, I want you to think with me. Look, brothers, you know, when we went to the movie and saw Step and Fetch It, a black man acting a fool, you know. Mantan Moreland with his eyes bucking. See, we didn't write that part. Somebody wrote that part for one of our brothers to play, but the imagery of us that we saw on the screen fortified the thought that we had in our mind that we were subhuman, inferior, and doomed, almost cursed to be black. And the blacker we are, the more cursed we seem to think we are. So that when a white man would sleep with or rape a black woman to produce somebody my color or lighter, with hair a little more wavy than kinky, a nose a little more thin than broad, lips a little more thin than thick, then they in their social structure made us lighter skinned brothers and sisters to believe that we were better than our darker brother. So they put hatred in among us because of color. Right now, Brother Mandela is president over a country of millions of black people and a handful of white people, but among them is a group that are called coloreds. That group called coloreds voted with and for de Klerk over Mandela because they were lighter, were permitted to study Africana, which is the language of the Caucasian ruler, so that they could feel more superior. Oh, brothers. They would feel more superior to the black because they were closer to the white. Do you know what's going on in Rwanda? Our people are dying by the thousands, slaughtered by their own. But who is at the root of it? You don't know. Who are the Tutsis and who are the Hutus? The Tutsis ain't Tootsie Rolls. And the Hutus ain't owls. The Tutsis are really from the Watusis. Tall, stately, magnificent black people. The Hutus are from the Bantu and even the Pygmy. The Tutsi, though the minority, looks more with a keener nose, even though black, keener features. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the colonial masters educated the Tutsis and put the Tutsis in positions as civil servants, making them to feel they are better than the Hutu. So when the Hutus revolted, they killed the Tutsi. So then the Tutsis come in power in the Patriotic Front. And we are killing each other because an enemy put us at odds with one another. Look at you. Some of us Bloods and some of us Crips. Some of us have the color blue. Some of us deal with the color red. What the hell is that? That we should kill one another over a color? All of it belongs to us. My dear brothers, we're destroying each other because we don't really understand the root of who we are and what our oppressor is doing to us through us. My Hispanic brothers, La Raza. Who are you? You ain't Spanish. Why? Because you speak Spanish, you Spanish? I speak English, I ain't an Englishman. I speak a little French and a little German. I ain't French and I ain't German. I studied Latin and I speak Latin, but I ain't Latin. You are a victim of the Spanish conquistadors who conquered your people. You are more Indian, Native, African, mixed in. That's why you love the drum. You didn't get that drum, brother, from no Spain, doctor. Whoa. You say, I'm Cuban. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm from Guatemala. I'm from Costa Rica. I'm from Nicaragua. Yeah, you can call all them names. But what's the root? The root is Africa. Now, because you speak Spanish and we speak English, your hair curlier than ours. Some of you. Your nose a little thinner than ours. Some of you. Yes, sir. All of a sudden now, we are competing in a society for the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And we who are the oppressed original people of the earth are fighting each other in el barrio or in the ghetto when we should be locking arms as family to fight for the total good of all of our people.
They got us in our ignorance. We have become the number one destroyers of each other. White folk don't have to kill us anymore. We are doing it now better than they did it. We have a nerve to picket the police station when the police kill one of us. And we're sending each other to the morgue and to the hospitals every day and every night of every week of every month of every year. We then are in the genesis of the rise of dark people all over the world, and that rise cannot come until somebody says, let us make man. You have got to become a man. A man is not a man because of a male organ. In that case, every animal that has a male organ could be a man. And some animals would be more man than you and me. Let the church say amen. Amen. I'm almost finished. Bear with me now. When God said, let us make man, he said, and give them power and dominion over the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea, and every creeping thing that crawls upon the earth. A man is not a man without power. A man is not a man without dominion. A man is not a man without the ability to rule at least himself and his own domain. What do you rule? Really nothing. You say, well, yeah, I rule. I rule where I am. How do you rule her? You know what a ruler is? You know what a ruler is? It's that which you use to measure. You are born by nature to rule, but you don't have the knowledge to rule. Therefore, violence is what you use to establish your rule over your women and your children. Any man that beats a woman is not a man at all. One of the most ugly sights in the world is to see a man knocking down the woman that God made from himself for him. That's right. That's right. But you beat her because you don't have this to rule. You've been deprived of knowledge. No man can be a man without knowledge. No man can be a man without knowledge. It is knowledge that separates man from the beast of the field. And to deprive a whole male population of vital knowledge that will give us what God wanted us to have is a crime of immense magnitude. One of the things that white males had to do was to break you in order to maintain their rule. So when the slaves were brought to America, the crushing of the black male had to be accomplished in order for us to be made a perpetual slave, and our women would be the booty or the prize of a victor in war. So our women, I don't care what you say, don't belong to us as long as we don't reconnect to God. Your woman belongs to who feeds her. And since you make a baby but don't know how to take care of what you make, then government steps in. The government of the people, by the people, and for the people, of some white people, by some white people, for some white people. Then the government sends your wife a check. Listen to the scenario. Listen. And you, as a man, slip by the house when the check comes and say, baby, you got anything, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Look at you. You have married women who have had to become your other mother because you and I have not been mothered properly. Our women are looking for a husband and get another child. Yes, sir. Brothers, I gotta talk like this.
Straight talk. They got to have straight.
This is just a brotherly, fatherly chat.
Go ahead, brother.
You say to the brothers, hey, come on by my crib. What is a crib? A crib is some place where you put a baby with little playthings in the crib. Your language tells the world what your condition is. Your wife won't nurse her babies from her breasts, but all these big grown men sucking on the breast of a woman, and the baby can't get no milk for you and me. Look at it. Look at it, brothers. Look at it, brothers. This is man talk. How can a woman respect a man that's living on her breast? And a woman is ruling you through sex. We got to talk, brothers. I got to walk and talk. We got to talk, brothers. You see, white males know that real pleasure is not from a woman. Real pleasure comes from creative ideas brought to fruition
that they may live long after we are gone. Man gets pleasure from the handiwork of his mind. But when a man's mind is shut down because he does not have knowledge, the pain of unfulfilled expectation lead to male frustration, absolute stress. So since the organ of the male is the organ through which we derive physical pleasure, since the mind has been shut down and we cannot get real pleasure, and since we have been made enemies one to the other so that we can't even find pleasure in each other's company, then we must find pleasure where we get it now. And that is, we become a sex mad human being. We must find all kind of ways to get physical pleasure. Listen now. So you become a freak. God damn. And you make your woman a freak. And then you write songs, I want to freak you. And the whole world is listening to a people whose power of mind has been shut down. The dope man comes in the community. You don't make no dope. But your body, your brain creates the drugs that the body needs.
That's right.
When it's time to go to sleep, the brain produces what you need. When you have normal stress or trauma from the loss of a loved one, the brain produces the chemistry to get you through. But when you're in the condition that we are in, the brain is depleted because it doesn't have that particular knowledge that would allow you to produce what you need from yourself. So the drug merchant comes in, hey man, I got something for your head. You don't realize that what you need is knowledge. I'm high all the time, brothers.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Listen to me, listen to me. I want you to look at me, look at me. I'm 60 years old. Look at me, look at me. I've been married to one woman for 40 years. I got 9 children, 23 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild. My son stands behind me. He watched his father bench press 370 pounds. He watched his father squat 405 pounds and snatch up 405 on a deadlift off the floor. A 60-year-old man with skin that is youthful, new hair growing, not coming in gray, but coming in black. I want you to look at your brother. You don't need no drugs. You need a healthy dose of God and a healthy dose of truth. All praise is due to Allah. Black man, look at my skin. It's lighting up. There's light all around me. Not the light of the television camera. I carry my own light. Because I'm plugged up to the right source, and I don't want to let you think that you can't get plugged up to the same source. I don't want to be no shepherd that lies and deceives you to make you think I'm special and you are not special. You are very special. Look at us, brothers. Sex runs our life.
That's right.
You know you need power, but you don't have it. Somebody comes in your community. Hey. Here, man. Take this gun. It shoots. It's a 9mm. Shoots 12 or 15 times. Hey, you can do this to this, and you can make it automatic. Here's a street sweeper. Shoots shotgun pellets, 12 of them. This will make you a bad nigga. This will give you power. Because Mao Zedong said power grows out of the barrel of a gun. So some of us have been dumb enough to believe that when you get a gun in your hand, you got power because you can make somebody terrified. All right. Get out of your damn car. Move. That's power, all right. And then you squeeze off around. And you watch your brother beg for his life. And you see him fall and gasp. And his life is gone. And you jump in the car and drive off without ever thought that you killed your brother. You killed the part of God. You killed yourself. Because every time you squeeze off around at your brother, you start killing your own mind towards your brother. So you become a cold, heartless, cruel, bestial animal. How do I know that you have run out of time? I can tell by the way you treat the messenger and the message. My dear Bloods and my dear Crips, you are the proof that the time is up. When you will hear my voice and know that I am a correct warner, and then go out from me and then kill each other, then it's time for me to go and for God to kill you all. Since you love killing so much, then God will give you your own blood to drink like water, and you will be drunk with your own blood as with sweet wine. Die then in your rebellion. I'm through with you today. I've done my job. I have warned you night and day till my lungs are about to bust. But I'm through with you. Muslims as well as the non-believer. I have loved you, but you have not loved one another. Why the hell should I stay among a people who won't love each other? But I'm willing to die for you, but you are willing to destroy one another. To hell with a people like this. When Allah finishes with you, He said in the Quran, away with the people of Ad, away with the people of Thamud, away with the people. Why should you be done away with? Because you're unfit for God's promise. He wants to make a great nation out of you, but you want to make a nation of animals out of yourselves. How long shall a man preach to you? I'm not no damn entertainer. I'm not here for you to clap your hands or dance. I'm here for you to act on what I say, that you may save your life. But if you turn me down, then I shall turn you down and go on with Allah and let Him kill the whole damn bunch of you. Because you're not worthy to live if you don't want to do what is right by yourself and right by your people. You have enemies standing all around you. The white man is ready to kill us all, and we standing here willing to kill one another. You ought to die if you're that dumb and foolish.
I want to start first with a scripture from the Bible and Quran that makes it imperative that we get to our young people to make our youth understand what is happening to young black people, not only in America, but in the Caribbean, in Central America, South America, and in Africa, and all over the world. The biblical scripture that I want to keep reinforcing is Pharaoh's conspiracy against the children of Israel. Now, there's no need to look back in history unless what we're looking at historically has a bearing on what we are living right now. The Bible is not a book of ancient stories that have something to do with yesterday, but have nothing to do with today. If we preach the scriptures like it's all about yesterday and not about today, then we are not teaching the people as they need to be taught, as they should be taught, as they must be taught. Everything in the Bible, everything in the Quran is relative to the time period that we are living in. If you can just relegate God to yesterday, then what relevance does He have today? We are here today. We have real problems today. We pray today. We need help today. So if the Bible and the Quran are of yesterday and not for today, then why bother to read it at all? But the Bible and the Quran are the best books to read. If you really want to see what's happening today, and if you can understand it, as we have a teacher today to give us clear understanding, you get the news events before it happens. Now, what you're going to get today is tomorrow's news, next week's news, next month's news. So you'll be in on something before it happens, so when it happens you say, wow, I already knew that. And that's why the Bible says, how can they know except they have a teacher? And how can they have a teacher except he be sent? Well, the enemy's not going to send you somebody to lift you out of the condition that we are in. So it has to be God that intervenes in our affairs in order for us to be truly saved. That scripture is this: Pharaoh saw the children of Israel multiplying. They were having a lot of babies. And Pharaoh said, come. That's an invitation. Let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, join on to an enemy of ours, and come against us. Well, when he said, let us deal wisely with them, he's talking about the children of Israel. When he says, let's deal wisely, he's not calling foolish people. He's calling people of skill in various fields of endeavor to help him work the conspiracy or the plan. And what is the plan, or what was the plan? The plan was to kill all the boy babies. Listen to me, please. The plan was to kill all the young men of the children of Israel and spare the females. That's Bible. Why did they want to kill the males? Because they knew it was time for a deliverer to come forth from the womb of a woman to deliver the children of Israel from the harsh bondage of Pharaoh. So the order went out, kill all male children. And as you remember the story, Moses was floated down a river and he escaped Pharaoh's wicked plan. Well, here we are, 4,000 years from Moses. And we are living in a country where our fathers, your ancestors, didn't come over on the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. We didn't come on the Mayflower. How did we get here? We came in the holds of ships as chattel, as property, to be made into slaves for white America. Now, we can't deny that that happened because we're here. And you didn't have a passport
from another country that gave you entrance into America. You were brought here as a slave to be the burden bearer of a new nation that needed our labor and expertise to build it up, but at the same time, we were never to enjoy the fruit of freedom, justice, and equality, or the democracy that America promised to American citizens. This enemy now come in the neighborhood. He got a pepper spray. He got a baton that he can put a chokehold on you and take your life. He's got tasers. He's got no more 38. That's punk stuff. He's carrying a Glock. A Glock what? I see you know. He's carrying a Glock 9, but in the trunk of his car, he got a shotgun and heavy stuff. Then he got a bulletproof vest on, helmet with stuff, you know. This is SWAT team, right? Oh, why would the police dress like this? Is this a society of human beings? No, it's a society of animals, and they're frightened. So when they come in our community, man, there they are. Look at them, look at them. Their pants hanging off their behinds. They're showing off their muscles, you know. They're basketball and cussing every second word is this MF that, this MF this SOB that, this BI, this whole. So the enemies, see, you can't deal with these people. They're crazy as hell. I got a call, I got to go in that neighborhood. Damn, I want to get home to my family, so my gun is at the ready now. A bunch of them days on the corner, I got a call for backup right away. But I ain't going to ask no questions. I'm shooting first. They're frightened, brothers. Our savagery. But I'm going deeper than that in a minute. Can I have just a few more minutes? Look. This man, I'm sorry, I'm a little longer than I had planned. And I want you to be patient, because if I could have got it over in a few minutes, but you get the tape, and when your head is a little better, I realize this is early Sunday morning after a heavy Saturday night. And you might want to rest a little right now, but I want to try to speed this up. But you know, I really want you to see what has happened to you now. That's why I say I'm coming to your address. As much as white folk claim that they have no part in producing the savagery that is seen among us, but let us look for a moment at their own words. A man in Message to the Black Man that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote about, called Henry Berry, a member of the Virginia House of Delegates, said on January 20th, 1832, 175 years ago,
Listen to what he said. Pass as severe laws as you will to keep these unfortunate creatures in ignorance. It is in vain unless you can extinguish that spark of intellect which God has given them. Now they know you have intellect. And they know that if you're allowed to use your intellect, you'll be free. So they wanted to interfere with your intellect. Now watch what he says. Sir, we have as far as possible closed every avenue by which, excuse me, light may enter their minds. We only have to go one step further to extinguish their capacity to see the light, and our work will be completed, and they would then be reduced to the level of the beasts of the field, and we should be safe. Sir, a death struggle must come between the two classes or races, in which one or the other will be extinguished forever, and they were going to make sure that it was you that would be extinguished. But the beauty of no matter what they've done, there have always been slaves among us that were the repositories of light. No matter what happened to us as a people, among the slaves there were brothers and sisters who could think and outthink the master, and therefore were leaders among the slaves. I don't care what they do to us, there's always some among us whom God blesses with light.
They brought us here, not in their quarters, but in the holds of ships which were reserved for us. They didn't come down there with us. Talk to me. When we got to America, you separated us, and we lived in the shacks and in the fields. You lived in the house. When we so-called were emancipated, you had an area for us. You are the one that not preaches separation, you practice separation, but a wicked form of separation. Segregation. Apartheid. That's you. You went into black women, produce people my color. Then taught light-skinned black people that they were better than their black brothers and sisters. You did that. You separated us by caste and class and color and region and boundaries. You separated us and segregated us because that's your thing. And you did what you want to do. You, white folks, did not allow us to go to school. You mated us like animals. You did this. You broke down our morals and then condemn us for being immoral. You broke up our families, wouldn't allow us to build a family, then you condemn us today for not having a family. You made black men stud horses that made black women pregnant, that you as the slave master, as the representative of the slave master, took care of. Now you condemn us today for giving our women babies and letting them go on welfare, but that's the fruit of what you produced. You did that. And the sad thing, though you did all of that and made us hate ourselves in the process, making it easy for us to destroy ourselves, then you sit back and call us crime addicts. We are addicted to this behavior, when we have mimicked the worst of your behavior. You're the number one criminal. The number one criminal. The number one criminal. Yeah. So the scripture says we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Born in sin didn't mean that sex is sin. God ordained sex. Sex is not sin. The abuse and misuse of it is. Born in sin means we were birthed into a world already on a course of rebellion against God. And the institutions formed us, shaped us in that rebellion. So we are born in sin, shaped in iniquity. And this is why death prevails over the planet and not life. And this is why there is no respect for life. We got to stop the killing. You sure do. We will, sister. Just be patient. We're working on that problem right now. Sister said we got an inferiority complex. Got a lot of Uncle Tom mentality. She said help us get rid of that. I told her we're working on that problem right now. Working on it right now, my sister. Now look at what the scripture says. The earth was without form and void. Why are you telling us that, Moses? A slave people who don't have enlightened leadership are without form and voided. But until God's Spirit moves on the face of the waters, meaning when God's Spirit comes among the people, he will raise one up from the people as he drew Moses up out of water. He's making a leader for slaves. You're not going to be nothing in this world until a leader comes up. Not any leader made by your enemy, but a leader born of the Spirit of God. Are you understanding me? Now look, I'm not going to keep you here too long. But what I'm saying to you, Las Vegas, is that every time we produced a leader that could pull us together, the same government that sends our boys and girls to die plotted to kill our leaders. That's what I'm saying to you. This is not your friend that you're fighting and dying for. This is your worst enemy that you're fighting and dying for. And don't get scared. Listen, I don't want none of the leaders to get frightened, because I'm doing the talking, brother. You can tell them you didn't know what I was going to say. But I'm going to prove my point, Reverend. I'm going to prove my point, Reverend. Because I don't want you to doubt me. And I know you don't. You don't doubt me at all, but you may be a little afraid. But I want you to challenge your fear. Because the scripture says the fearful and the unbelieving will have their part in the lake that burns with fire. We've come too far along the road to be afraid today. Because if God is for us, who can be against us? So look, bear with me now. You know Nat Turner was a leader that came from us. Denmark Vesey was a leader that came from us. Booker T and W.E.B. Du Bois were leaders that came from us. Come on. Marcus Garvey was a leader that came from us. But every time we had a strong leader, the government caused us to kill him, or they killed him themselves. Come on. Am I telling the truth or what? In our modern era, when Rosa Parks sat down, Martin Luther King stood up, and he died at 39 from an assassin's bullet. Not because King was a bad man, but because King was preaching against America's involvement in the war in Vietnam. So King was assassinated, and now they name streets for him. You don't need streets and alleys and boulevard. You need Dr. King. You don't need Malcolm X Boulevard. You need Malcolm X. We don't need Whitney Young Boulevard. We need Whitney Young. We don't need our leaders to have alleys and boulevards and streets named after them. We want America to get the hell out of the way and leave our leaders alone and let them live. So by killing our leaders, before our leaders could really do the job that God called them to do, we became a people void, never developed. We got hands, but they don't work for us. They're not coordinated. You got white head on black body. So your hands build for your enemy, and you fight for your enemy, but you don't know how to defend and build for yourself. What happened to your head? When somebody gets hit in the head and they get paralysis, their hands don't work for them. Their feet don't work for them. You call the brother handicapped. Well, that's us, brother. We're handicapped. Our hands don't build no factories. We build no schools. We build no hospitals. We don't enter into international trade and commerce like a living people, because every time you get the right kind of leader, they kill him or they talk about him like a dog and make us kill him. And that's why the press calls me anti-Semite, hater, bigot, because they know that you are taught to love. You are taught that God is love. And if I'm a hater, then I have to be either the devil or of the devil. Come on. So when they drop that word out on you about me, you say, I'm not going near that man. He's a hater. He's a hater. Let me ask you a question. Since some of you just met me, who taught you to hate yourself? I wasn't around then. Who taught you not to love your own origin in the world? I didn't do that. Come on. Who gave you that sick mentality that makes you think you're inferior because you are black and only something light, bright, near white, or white is of any value? Who gave you that sick mind? It wasn't Louis Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan didn't teach you to bleach your hair to try to be like white people. Louis Farrakhan didn't teach you to buy blue eyes and green eyes so you could be like white people. Louis Farrakhan didn't do that. Louis Farrakhan don't teach black people to walk by black businesses where they should spend their money, but they walk by their own black businesses, put them out of business, and give their money to those who don't care for them or their community. Louis Farrakhan didn't teach you to do that. But Louis Farrakhan comes from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to reverse all of that. And because the Spirit of God has moved on the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. And the people that walked in darkness are beginning to see a great light, and upon them hath the light shined. Then those who killed our leaders to keep us in darkness are afraid now, because they just can't quite get to me yet. It's too late. I say to the FBI that's present, take this back to your boss. You're too late. I'm on time. And the God of time is with me. And never again will you rob black people of leadership. We are on our way up, and no power will stop our rise. Brethren, now, with what white folk have put on us, it's going to take God to unite our hearts. See, not our skin color. That only lasts a minute. You black, I'm black, beautiful. So what? That's my black brother. That's my black sister. Now that sounded good in the 60s, but it won't work in the 90s. Because being color brother is no brother at all. The only way we can become brothers is if Allah unites our hearts. Now, how do you unite my heart with your heart? You mean my physical heart that's a pump that beats so many beats per minute? No. The heart is the core of the brain. It is that place from which all of the issues of life come forward. If God is going to unite our hearts, He's going to unite us in the deepest aspect of our being, that the thoughts that we think, out of which come our actions, will be pure. Then we can become brothers, real brothers. And there's nothing more powerful than for us to become a real, solid brotherhood and sisterhood. You don't become that by joining the mosque or joining the church, where they call you, hey brother, this is brother James, this is brother Joe, this is sister Susie, this is sister Millie. Hey. Now, they call us that, brother. But now we have to purify the hearts in order that we might be a real brotherhood. Now, God came to make us brothers. So the most important aspect of the mission is to make us brothers one to another, sisters one to another. That's the most important aspect of the mission. Only when the issues of the heart are straightened out, you will do by your brother as you would have your brother do by you. Then love can flow as a result of your righteous conduct. But you can't love one another if you won't do right by one another. There can be no love without righteousness. Some of us say, there's not enough love in the mosque, or there's not enough love among the sisters, there's not enough love among the brothers. What are you talking about? Do you think love is some empty word that you can say, I love you, and that's it? Love is no punctified emotion. Love is the enactment of righteous principles carried into practice. I love you, and then lie. I love you, and then cheat. I love you, and you call me to do work for you, and I do half the work but demand all the money. I love you, but I'm unfaithful to my commitment to you. I love you. I was on a radio show the other night from New York, and Bob Law was questioning me about our book, The Torchlight. And I said, when Elijah Muhammad was among us, it was so easy to say the white man is the devil, and black folk could readily see the evil of white people against us. And some even then would not admit he was wicked. But to go in the black community today and say that the white man is the devil, people run you out of there. They say, what the hell you mean the white man is the devil? It's that nigga there that stole my stereo. That nigga there shot my baby. That nigga there is a gangbanger, killed my mother. There is so much evil in the black community today that the devil is no longer really the white man. The devil is you, a black devil wreaking hell and havoc on your own self and on your own community. And this is why the work of Jesus was so important, because the work of Jesus was to cast devils out of the people. And we got so many devils in us, brothers and sisters. There ain't no use in looking at white people no more. We know they're evil. But what about yours? What about mine? What about ours? When are we going to deal with the evil of our own selves? Because it's that evil that's keeping our hearts from being united. It is that evil that stems the flow of love from the heart for one another. So the scripture says we can tell that we have passed from death into life because we love the brotherhood. But if you don't love one another, you're still dead. And you can't love one another if you're not doing right by one another. I gotta walk a little bit. Listen, it will never be real, leaders, if in your preaching and your actions you don't treat each other right. If our actions one toward the other is duplicitous, scheming, devious, hidden motives, hidden agendas, playing with good words, but underneath doing evil and dirty deeds. You can't produce love with ingenuous action. You can't produce love on the basis of lies and deceit and treachery and trickery. You can't produce love in a society with murder and robbery and lying and slander at the root of it. So you produce a world filled with hate, because the world is filled not with the preaching of Farrakhan. The world is filled with evil, and it is the evil that men do that has produced hatred in the hearts of the people. And now, what you would classify me as a racist or even an anti-Semite, I'm neither a racist nor an anti-Semite. But if I point out your evil with truth, then call me a preacher of truth. And if you will correct your behavior, then love will come as a result of correction. But you can't cast hate on me. Farrakhan is a no good man. What have I done? If I'm no good, what is America? If I'm no good, what is your president? What is your system? What is your education? If I'm no good because of words, how good are you, America, when you have deeds of hatred that have filled the earth
from one corner to another. What are you if I'm no good? If I point out your evil tracks in the sands of time, I didn't make the tracks, you made them. And if I point out the tracks that you made, don't blame me for the evil tracks that you made. I'm trying to make a righteous track, and you want to make me the evildoer.